everybody. Perfect timing, because today I would like to share with you all a map created in 1775 that reveals what happened after the Battle of Bunker Hill, when the British drove provincial forces off of the peninsula and took possession of it. This taking of Charlestown, by the way, represented the first foothold that the British had gained in the Massachusetts countryside outside of Boston itself for the first time since April 19th, 1775, 2 months before, when they had retreated into Boston after the battles of Lexington and Concord. And this map that I'll show you today was created in December of 1775 by British Captain and Chief Engineer John Montresor. And as you'll see, it shows in great detail the 3 posts that the British garrisoned on the Charlestown Peninsula in the wake of the Battle of Bunker Hill. And here it is, this great looking map from 1775 showing the peninsula as a whole. But let's begin to zoom in and check out the 3 different posts that the British occupied. The first post is labeled C, and it's marked here on Ferry Hill. So the Ferry Hill post certainly would have been the most convenient to Boston, located as it was right near the ferry. Ferry Hill, I've also heard that referred to as Town Hill. There was a ferry back and forth that ran between Boston and Charlestown. This seems to be in a kind of developed or built up section of the Charlestown Peninsula, and that's correct. Now, on June 17th, 1775, the British burnt that densely developed area of the Charlestown Peninsula to the ground. The town was literally reduced to ashes, and even today, if you dig deep enough, you will hit a layer of ash that underlies Charlestown from where all of those buildings, those wooden buildings, got burnt, really reduced to just skeletal outlines of chimneys and foundations. What this tells us is that the fort on Ferry or Town Hill must have stood amongst the ruins. So let's check out the second British post. And again, this is after the Battle of Bunker Hill. Once the British came into possession of the Charlestown Peninsula, they fortified it, because they're yet another step closer to the continental line at this point. They are back on the mainland, no longer all bottled up in Boston as they had been since April 19th. Now let's zoom in to the second British post on this map. And this second position is referred to as the Redoubt on Rebel Hill. Now, the location of this redoubt is where the American or provincial redoubt stood on the crest of Breed's Hill during the Battle of Bunker Hill back on June 17th, that the Americans threw up on the night of June 16th going into the 17th. Now, I always have to throw this in. The redoubt that we see here on this map does stand on top of Breed's Hill. And there's a lot of controversy, it seems, with people thinking that the Battle of Bunker Hill really happened on Breed's Hill. It didn't. The Battle of Bunker Hill happened all across the entire Charlestown Peninsula. It was not just Breed's Hill that was implicated in the battle. The battle raged all across the entire peninsula, but the provincial redoubt did stand on Breed's Hill, the smaller hill located closer to Boston, with Bunker Hill itself being the larger hill that stood closer to Charlestown Neck and to the mainland or Cambridge area. But for now, on this map, we see that the British took over what was once the provincial redoubt on Breed's Hill and are referring to it now as the redoubt on Rebel Hill. And before we zoom into our third British fort on the Charlestown Peninsula, which is really interesting for lots of different reasons, just allow me to say, if you've been here before, then welcome back. I am so happy that you've decided to join me again. And if you haven't been here before, then my name is Katie, and I am a Revolutionary War researcher, writer, and speaker based in the Boston area. And on this channel, we venture out on historical action adventures. We visit battlefields, burying grounds, historic houses, bridges, even city streets where events of the American Revolution occurred. If that sounds like fun to you, then I hope you'll consider donning a pair of adventure pants and clicking the subscribe button so that you can come along on our next adventure. Now, to the Citadel, the third and biggest fort on the Charlestown Peninsula, was thrown up by the British on the top of Bunker Hill itself, the very large tall hill located up at Charlestown Neck that had a commanding view of the countryside surrounding it. This is very, very close to the American lines. It is only a matter of yards between each side's picket guards. And you can see the Citadel is marked with an A on this map, and it's very large right at the top of Bunker Hill. And according to this key showing a cross section, the walls of the Citadel were about 10 feet thick. And next to it is a D, which represents a mortar battery. A mortar being something that fires shells, hollow bombs filled with an incendiary, and then once launched, eventually explode, setting fire to whatever it hit. Now there can be no way into Charlestown without bumping right into the Citadel. Or so you might think. In an upcoming video, we're going to talk about a really interesting event that happened in Charlestown in 1776. Now, this last little kind of bonus tidbit that I'm going to show you is something that I didn't really plan to talk about, but now that we're really digging into this map, I cannot resist. You'll see here, kind of toward the west shore of the Charlestown Peninsula, toward the Charles River, are these very small things. They're houses. And they're houses that survived the burning of Charlestown. Almost everything on the Charlestown Peninsula was, as I said, reduced to ashes. But these houses up by the neck at the base of Bunker Hill were just simply out of range. And so they survived. However, those houses did not escape the notice of the Continentals and of General George Washington, who by this time is in command in Cambridge. So I'm really, really excited to share with you in one of our next historical action adventures what happens in these very small houses, so easily overlooked, and yet what a fascinating story. If you liked this video, I hope you'll consider clicking the thumbs up button. Doing so helps me get my channel out to a wider audience, and it helps tell YouTube that there is an audience for Revolutionary War content. So if you enjoyed this video and if you found something of value in it, I hope that you'll click the like button and consider coming along on our next historical action adventure. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and I'll see you in the next video.